Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Tuesday, August 19th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far today. This is episode 606 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. I thank you, as always, for joining me. For those tuning in on YouTube, make sure to please like and subscribe. Of course, appreciate all of those tuning in on all the different audio podcast platforms. And today we are recapping day number 15 of New York Jets training camp. I was back out at One Jets Drive today in Florham Park. So in today's episode, I will be giving you all of my in-person takeaways from New York Jets training camp this afternoon. I can't wait to get back out there tomorrow for the training camp finale. So I'll also have my in-person takeaways after tomorrow's practice. And that's it. One more preseason game left against the Eagles on Friday night. Roster cutdowns next week. And before you know it, shortly after that, it's game week as we prepare for the Pittsburgh Steelers a little bit after that. So the summer is coming to a close, but the season is right around the corner. As we always do, we'll start with what took place on the field, offensively, defensively, break it all down, give you all of my big in-person takeaways, and we'll listen to some comments made by Aaron Glenn later on to close out today's program as he met the media after practice this afternoon. We will start here, as we always do, with what took place on the grass, what took place in front of us Jet fans this afternoon on the field in One Jets Drive. It was another up and down day for the offense. Offensively, started pretty strong, couple 11-on-11 drills. Fields was finding a couple nice completions, had a couple consistent completions to guys like Garrett Wilson, had a stretch where he went 4 for 4 on one set of drills where he was able to get the ball to Tyler Johnson, was able to get the ball to Reynolds, Garrett Wilson, even Rucker, got Mason Taylor involved a bit. And then the offense stalled out a bit more towards the end when they started to do 2-minute drills. The starting offense could not muster up anything on the 2 sets of 2-minute drill drives that they did. So that was unfortunate, but there were certainly some positives and certainly overall kind of a mixed bag type of day from the offense. Some good, some bad. It's a common theme of it's a work in progress. It's still a work in progress. It's a unit that still has a lot of room to improve in. Feels like something as the season goes on, early parts of the season, there's going to be some growing pains. That's expected. The passing offense is going to have some ups and downs. It's not going to be the worst in football, but there is certainly going to be, some ups and downs and growing pains as they're going through, and they continue to work through these towards the end of training camp. And the run game again today, you did see some positives in that, and that's a unit that you obviously have high expectations for and continue to see production out of in both preseason games and even in all these practices. There's always a couple of runs that you walk away from each practice where you see the clear identity of this group. Now, the Jets did get a lot better today on defense. Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, and Jermaine Johnson were all back. So some key starters back at practice, which was big. In terms of Fields and just the offense, just strictly focusing on that, because we'll get to the defense here shortly. Open up practice with the 11-on-11 drills, back-to-back read options from Justin Fields. Neither of those went for a ton. Both of them were kind of just ran up the middle. In a real game scenario, probably gets stopped pretty quickly with no tackling of the quarterback. Tough to tell exactly how many yards were picked up, but read options, back-to-back plays, then a quick pass to Mason Taylor on a swing route for Fields' first completion of the day in a quick set of 11-on-11 drills, kind of hurry up, quick, up-tempo pace of play in these first set of drills. The Jets then did 11 on 11 drills from the 1 yard line, where you got a touchdown to Andrew Beck. Andrew Beck continues to have a good summer. He had the monster game against the Green Bay Packers. He's made a lot of plays during training camp. And again today. And Andrew Beck feels like, especially when you look at this tight end room, and Jeremy Ruckert, who did have a catch today, but in general, his whole body of work 4 years in has not been promising. Stone Smart's done some good things, but Andrew Beck feels like a guy from a tight end perspective, fullback one. He will be this team's fullback, but also playing a role from a tight end pass catching perspective. He's going to get some opportunities this year. It was a quick swing route to Andrew Beck in the end zone, 1 yard line. So not a huge play, but a touchdown there in the red zone for 11 on 11 drills from Justin Fields. Braylon Allen then followed that up with a rushing touchdown. And then Breece Hall, who had a rough day today, had a couple drops, which we'll get more into here in a second. But run to Breece, stuffed at the line of scrimmage, tackle for loss. Jamian Sherwood in the area, Michael Clemens in the area as well. So you had a Michael Clemens sighting today. Those were the main 11v11 drills from the 1 yard line, couple sets of those. In terms of the 7 on 7 drills from the red zone, quick completions for Fields to Breece and Garrett. He then had completion to Josh Reynolds. And in one of the highlights of today's practice, one of the highlights for Justin Fields and this starting offense came in this period of 7 on 7 drills when he found Garrett Wilson for a touchdown. Really nice pass, really nice grab by Garrett in tight window, tight coverage. Garrett extended, made the play. Good ball as well from Fields. So that was good to see that connection heating up a little bit there with that touchdown pass to close out that set of 7 on 7 drills. One of the highlights for this starting offense today. And like I said, there wasn't a very efficient period after that Fields had where he went 4 for 4. It was another set of team drills. Fields in the starting offense took over and really efficient 4 plays. He had completions to Garrett, then had completion to Josh Reynolds, found Tyler Johnson, Jeremy Ruckert. And what I like about that is he was able to spread the ball around. You know, we talk about guys emerging behind Garrett Wilson, needing other players, other receivers to step up behind Garrett Wilson. Do I expect Jeremy Ruckert to step up this year? No. Yes, he had a reception there, but the premise is, the point I'm making here is, it's good to see 4 different guys catch the football during that set of team drills. Garrett, Reynolds, Tyler Johnson, Jeremy Ruckert. You get your receivers involved, get a tight end involved, spread the ball around a little bit, find different guys open. It's not just Garrett Wilson open, other guys able to create separation and make some plays. So that was a positive. And just from the Fields efficiency perspective, anytime you complete 4 for 4 on one of those set of drills, that's a good thing. Final set of 11 on 11 drills that took place before we get to the 2-minute drills, which were ugly for the starting offense, to put it simple. So these next set of 11 on 11 drills started at the 35-yard line, and the starting offense's opportunity began with a Breece run play that was stuffed by Will McDonald. Will McDonald had a really strong day today. There was a couple highlights from the defensive line. Will McDonald was leading the way there. He also had a sack, which we'll get to here in a second when we break down the 2-minute stuff. He then had completion of Breece Hall the very next play for 4 yards. So it's a 3rd and 5 in this situation. He finds Mason Taylor for completion, first down, enough to move the chains. Next play was incomplete to Josh Reynolds. Tough pass, catchable ball, but a tough play to make. Very tight coverage, not an easy play, so incomplete. And then there was a bad RPO, feels like kind of a miscommunication. Then he tried to dump it to Breece, incomplete, whatever. That was the end of that. So a little bit of a broken back half of that 11 on 11 drill set where, you know, you had the Mason Taylor first down, you took a deep shot to Josh Reynolds, couldn't convert, and then fizzled out a bit with the broken RPO where he kind of just quickly dumped it off to Breece and incomplete. Now, the 2-minute drill is now what we'll get to here. 2 sets of 2-minute drill here for this starting offense. Fields opened it up with a sack. Will McDonald, came screaming off the edge, beat Olu very cleanly. Great rep by Will McDonald. So he sacks Justin Fields. And then there was a penalty on the next play. So drive started really, really poorly. You go from a sack to then a penalty. The next play, Fields is pressured again, has to roll out, throw it out of bounds, incomplete to live to fight another down. It's 3rd and 25. Good pass protection in this situation as the defense kind of pins its ears back a bit, keep the play in front of them. Fields is able to get the ball to Mason Taylor for about 10 yards. Problem is, it's 3rd and 25. So that set of 2-minute drills was done very quick. Sack, penalty, 2 plays that can't happen in a real game that'll kill you, especially in a 2-minute spot where you take a sack, you take a penalty, time burning off the clock. You don't want to burn a timeout because of that early on. You don't want to lose yards like that. 3rd and 25 in that situation is a terrible spot to be in. So that was a rough spot, a rough start. Then the second set of 2-minute drills for the starting offense. Fields found Mason Taylor across the middle, but it was a holding. So play called back, 1st and 20 now. 2-minute drills, early penalties can't happen. 1st and 20, Fields then found Garrett Wilson for a first down. Really, really nice ball. This was one of the plays, though, where if it was a game, Quinnen Williams probably gets to Fields. And there was even a chance Quinnen Williams in a real game probably could have knocked the ball out of Fields' hands or whoever the opposing quarterback would have been. You can kind of see his hand get right near Fields. He, of course, pulled it away because you're not hitting the quarterback in practice. But that was one of those plays from Quinnen Williams. He just dominated his rep, got through. So they counted as a first down. They did move the chains, but real game, Quinnen's probably there for the sack. Either way, fresh set of downs, 1st and 10. Tony Adams comes in on a blitz. 2-minute drills, one of my biggest takeaways. Steve Wilks was blitzing a ton during 2-minute drills. That could have been a result, too, for some of the penalties, some of the holdings. There was at least 3 to 4 blitzes that I saw during the 2-minute drills with Steve Wilks, not being afraid to be aggressive in that spot. Right? A lot of times defenses can play that prevent D, play that safe defense in the 2-minute drills. Steve Wilks, that was not the case today. He was blitzing a ton. Tony Adams was sent home on a blitz. It looked like the ball ended up popping out, a forced fumble. Looked like Jermaine might have popped it out, but again, with practice, the play was potentially called dead in a real game scenario. Either way, though, they moved the ball back. It's a 2nd and 19 after that with 52 seconds left. Fields finds Tyler Johnson for about a pickup of 5 yards. 3rd and 13, blitz, incomplete to Garrett Wilson. Quincy in the area. Looked like it would have been a sack. So you get to 4th and 13, and that was it. So those 2 sets of 2-minute drills were really rough for the Jets starting offense. But from a defensive perspective, you saw a lot of really good things with a lot of blitzing, Quincy getting home, Jermaine getting home, Tony Adams getting home, Quinnen getting home. Lots of guys getting in the face of Justin Fields and making it difficult. And certainly the penalties, the offense shooting themselves in the foot in a couple of those plays didn't help either. In terms of just some of the second-team quarterbacks or second-team, third-team stuff, Brady Cook, Adrian Martinez. Cook had a nice play to Arian Smith early on in practice. Adrian Martinez, a nice completion of Brandon Smith. Martinez also had a nice play to Arian Smith as well. Both the Smiths continue to have a really impressive camps. And then Brady Cook, during the 2-minute drill for the second team, delivered a deep ball to Quentin Skinner for a touchdown. So that was one of the highlights today. Quentin Skinner also mossed Jarius Monroe during cornerback wide receiver drills, which I'll get to here in a second, some of the highlights from that. Skinner had a very good day today. Brandon Smith had a very good day today. Arian Smith had a very good day today. Martinez, Cook helped those guys with a couple of those passes today as well. So those were the main takeaways from the quarterbacks. In terms of the running backs, like I said, Breece Hall had a bumpy practice today. He had 2 drops in positional drills. Running routes against air, Breece Hall had 2 drops in a row. On the same route, it was slants And Fields, first time drop, Brees got back in the line, second time drop. So he had the 2 drops there. He then had a drop with Quincy Williams in the area in coverage during team drills, 11 on 11. So Brees had 3 drops today. Really rough practice for Brees. Very out of character for Brees too, considering one of his strengths. You can certainly criticize Brees for his ability as a rusher these last couple of seasons and his vision and things like that. One area, though, that Brees has been so strong at and needs to be used more in is the receiving game. Really rough day for him today. And I'm not saying it's panic time on Brees Hall, but one of these practices where you kind of surprising from Brees. You don't usually see that all the time. Braylon, like I said, had a couple nice runs today, the one being at the 1 yard line, the red zone, punching it in for the touchdown. I mentioned the receivers a lot, but Brandon Smith, he has to make this team. There is no chance Brandon Smith does not make this team. And if the Jets don't want to put themselves in a position where you cut Lazard, you look at the way you can kind of adjust the roster and manipulate the roster a little bit. It's potentially placing Lazard on IR for the first couple of weeks. And then that opens up a space for Brandon Smith on the roster, right? If that's the route they want to take. I just don't see how he doesn't make this team. Even if Lazard was healthy, he is so much better than him right now. Every single practice, these preseason games, Brandon Smith continues to make plays. And this has been something that's going all the way back to the spring as well with Brandon Smith. And this coaching staff likes him. Couple guys, Glenn, but even some other, Engstrand as well, spoke very highly of him. So Brandon Smith, somebody that I think makes this team. And personally, I'd rather see him out there than Allen Lazard. I would. We know what Allen Lazard is. Take a chance on the unknown in Brandon Smith that he could potentially translate some of this into regular season action. No. Is he going to be the number 2? No. But can he play a role as a depth piece? Sure. Arian Smith in another good practice, did have 1 drop, but other than that, it was another strong day for him. So the rookie continues to play well. Quentin Skinner also had a big day. I don't think Skinner makes the 53-man roster. Now, if the Jets decide to hold on to 7 receivers, then you could see a world where he makes this team. But I think they probably end up just holding on to 6. And your last 2 in my opinion, will be Jamal Pritchett and Brandon Smith. But I would like to stash Quentin Skinner on the practice squad. And maybe I could be wrong. Skinner maybe makes this team. Maybe he does. There's a chance that they hold 7, or maybe he makes this team over a Pritchett or over a Smith. I doubt over Pritchett. I also doubt over Smith. I could see Smith a little bit more because Pritchett has the special teams value. But I would like to get Skinner on the practice squad and have him there available as a depth piece. But only time will tell whether or not that happens. He's got to clear, of course. He's had a really good summer, though. He's been very impressive, and he had the touchdown against the Giants on Saturday night. His ability to go up and get it and win 50-50 balls is really, really impressive. He's got some talent there. Tight end Mason Taylor looked good today. Couple nice plays. From an O-line perspective, Josh Myers was working with the 1s. Joe Tippmann was working with the 2s, so that continues to be a battle. I guess tomorrow, Tippmann's probably working with the 1s tomorrow, and Myers is probably working with the 2s. That's kind of been how it's been rolling. One day it's Tippmann, one day it's Myers. I still think Tippmann's this team's starting center. I could be wrong. I don't see a world, though, where Josh Myers is starting over him. That doesn't make any sense. Tippmann's miles better than him. But that's your update. Membu and Jermaine had a couple nice battles today. Jermaine being back, he looked good. Won a couple reps. Membu also won a couple reps. I mentioned the Will McDonald sack today. Quinnen Williams got near Justin Fields as well. And even Leonard Taylor had a pass breakup today at the line of scrimmage. So certainly some highlights from the defensive line. But specifically, you saw Quinnen, Jermaine, and Will McDonald. They were out there and they were active today. Quinnen and Jermaine specifically, given that's their first practice back, fully back in team drills. Jermaine, the biggest one of them all, because this is his first time in action since the torn Achilles in week number 2. And he looked good. And you could tell he wanted to be back out there. He was fired up, bringing the energy today. Great to see Jermaine back. Great to see him and Will McDonald on the opposite ends of each other. on that defensive line, Quinnen in that interior. It makes a huge difference with Jermaine and Quinnen back in the mix for sure, because this is a team with the defensive line depth. There's some questions there, no doubt about it. But the front four, the starting three of the four, I should say, because heck, even next to Quinnen, there's a question. I think it'll be Byron Coward. I think that's okay. But outside of that, edge and defensive tackle depth, very questionable. But the starters, Jermaine, Quinnen, Will McDonald, they all made some plays today. Sherwood had a really good day today. A couple pass breakups. He had one intended for Tyler Johnson. And there was also one deep downfield that he made. His ability to travel with wide receivers downfield and stay with them stride for stride is really impressive. Tight ends as well. His ability to pick anybody up and travel with them downfield and play really good coverage is not something you typically see from a linebacker. Now, the safety background for Jamien Sherwood certainly helps, but his ability in coverage is just so special and so impressive. He made some plays today. In terms of the secondary, Sauce had a good day, had a really nice pass breakup on Tyler Johnson in the end zone. He did limp off. Glenn said that he's fine. He got kind of his back of his leg got stepped on or kicked, so he's all right. Dean Clark had a good day today. Jarek Bernard-Converse also had a nice rep in coverage. Clark, JBC, back end of that secondary, all kind of fighting for some of those final roster spots as this team rounds out the 53. And that's primarily it. Couple other notes here that I do want to get to. And one of these is the cornerback and wide receiver drills that the Jets did today. And we've seen them do this a couple times, but they did it again today. One-on-one drills with the cornerbacks and the wide receivers. It started with a Quantez Stiggers pass breakup on Garrett Wilson. Really nice play. Garrett Wilson went up and got it. And on the way down, Stiggers got his hand on it to pop it out. So really nice rep there by Stiggers, who's had another really good summer. This is back-to-back years now. Stiggers is a really nice depth piece for this team in the cornerback room. But more importantly, his ability on special teams helps this Jets team out a lot. Brandon Smith had a nice grab on Stevens. Really nice move by Brandon Smith. Got himself very open. And a nice ball, good play by Smith. Josh Reynolds then had a really nice move on Stevens on back-to-back plays. He had a reception. Garrett then came back against Stiggers, put an excellent move on him. Great route for a completion. And one of the highlights, as I talked about earlier, but it was the Quentin Skinner Moss on Jarius Monroe. Went up and got it. The two were kind of fired up after it. Monroe chirping a bit, Skinner chirping a bit. But a great ball went up 50-50. Skinner turned it into, a 70-30, 80-20 type of play and hauled it in. So that was certainly one of the highlights from today's practice, one of the highlights for Skinner this summer as he continues to try and make a push for this 53-man roster. At the very least, like I said, which I think is most realistic, he lands on this team's practice squad. So those are some of the cornerback, safety, or cornerback wide receiver one-on-one drills. Starters were back. Overall defense ended up winning the day, especially late during the 2-minute drills. Now, Aaron Glenn met the media after practice, so we'll get to some sound here before we close things out. Aaron Glenn revealed the plan for the Jets starters against the Eagles on Friday night.
Some starters won't play in this game. I won't get into the who's or whatnot, but, a good amount of starters won't play. That gives us a chance to look at some of our other young guys and give them plenty of playing time so we can evaluate them. Obviously,
so some of these starters won't play on Friday night. You read between the lines, expect most of them not to be out there on Friday night. And when you look at this Jets team, you look at Fields, you look at this offense, right? They got a drive against Green Bay, 2 drives against the Giants. Green Bay, 1 drive, 1 touchdown. 2 drives against the Giants were certainly much more bumpy. They did get 3 points in the second drive, but all in all, Fields only 1 for 5. I did think that they would play against Philly. That's not the case. But you look at Glenn, you look at the Jets' viewpoint on things, and you can understand it. I personally can see both sides of it, but the Glenn and the Jets side is they've already played 2 games. You've had the 2 joint practices. You've had all of training camp. They've got a lot of work in already. Rest them, keep them healthy, and you will see you week 1 at MetLife Stadium against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's kind of the approach there, and that's the plan. So that was Aaron Glenn on the starters against the Eagles. Glenn also talked about Jermaine and Quinnen being back at practice, and he was excited to see them today.
So like I said, whoa. I mean, 11's out there, and he's rushing the pass, and he runs right by me. It was like just wind, like woof, like just goes by me. So, and then you see 95, and it felt good. I'll just say that. It felt really good.
He's right. It looked good, felt good. Happy to see Jermaine back. Happy to see Quinnen back. Jermaine, Will McDonald, Quinnen, what they're able to do up front on this defensive line. Tons of potential there, as we all know. And a lot of proven from those guys as well. On the note of Jermaine, Glenn talked about Jermaine and Will McDonald, their skill sets and just their abilities lined up on the opposite sides of each other.
Well, I mean, I think obviously we see that Will has a fastball that's like elite, in this league. Jermaine is a bigger body, 265, 270 pounds. That's a true power player, but he does have speed also. And to me, a lot of times when you have that dynamic, you could have one guy from one side rush with power, all right, when he's running right through the tackle. Now the quarterback has to have an escape lane. You have a guy that has speed that can come from the backside and make a play. All right, you see that from a lot of teams that have that dynamic of, man, you have one guy with power, the other guy with speed. Man, that makes a hell of a rush for the most part. And then you have 2 guys interior that can just push the pocket. Creates a great rush. So I'm looking forward to seeing those guys work together. They do have 2 different skill sets, but they're 2 really good players we're going to utilize to the best of their ability.
Exactly.
He mentioned a lot of the power from Jermaine, the speed from Will McDonald, and that's the truth. Their abilities, the difference in those 2 players complements each other really well. And something that's been a nice sight from Will McDonald is we talk about the speed and obviously the athleticism, but the size that he's put on, he's been able to become a little bit more physical. And even some of these practices, you've started to see some of his ability against the run. And it's such a small sample size. I get it. It's training camp. It's practice. The games is what matters most, and that's really how you'll evaluate Will McDonald from a run stop perspective on if he can improve there. But you've started to see some of the early signs of that. Jermaine, very well-rounded, and then Will McDonald, that athletic, bendy, pure speed, improves against the run, another element added to his game. You have to be fired up about what those 2 can do together in a season here where hopefully they're both healthy. Glenn also talked about just what he saw from the team at practice today.
A good situation all the guys were dialed into. So, and then I thought it was a good, hard, long practice for these guys. Some of the things we did were live, start yards and goal line, was live, and our guys got after it at that time, and other times we just studied. So I thought it was pretty good practice. A lot of things we got to continue to work on. Looking forward to tomorrow's practice. It's going to be a different type of deal tomorrow. Man, we keeping chopping wood. That's it. We got to keep chopping wood and keep getting better.
Today's practice was extremely long, which I love. Lots of reps, lots to look for from a fan's perspective. But that's been something Glenn's talked about a lot. And he said that, I think it was, 2 weeks ago now, a week and a half ago now, about increasing the reps. And you've seen that. I mean, practice today started around 12:30, 12:45-ish. I mean, 12 players were out there on the field warming up, all that stuff. It didn't end till 3:15. So it was about 3 hours of practice, which something that you did not see in previous regimes. You've seen a lot here with Glenn. These long practices, lots of reps, lots of opportunities for these guys. One more clip here from Glenn. Expect to see more of that tomorrow. Like I said, I'll be back out there. So excited for that to close out the summer in many ways with the season right around the corner. One more from Glenn here. Thought this was a funny clip. First part of it was him talking about the running backs. Second part of it was kind of a funny quote on Brees and the trade rumors.
Aaron, when you talk about the running game, we know what Brees can do, and he can be used a lot of ways. What have you seen from Braylon? And I think he might still be the youngest guy in the league. Like, do you ever think about that? what this guy could be?
It's crazy. And, a grown man's 240 pounds. That's the youngest guy in the league. And I think he's shown exactly who he can be when it comes to the running game. I can't just say off the top of my head like how many yards he's average per play, but I mean I think it's up there for the most part. So listen, we have like 3 good running backs, and I keep saying that. And listen, they all have different skill sets that we're going to utilize. And that does not mean I'm trading Brees. Okay? Does not. So I'm going to say that right now. I just like having 3 good guys. Hell, I wish I had more. But we don't. But listen, yeah.
Real funny moment there from Glenn at the end. I never understood the Brees trade rumors. Maybe it's because I have a higher belief than many Jet fans. A lot of Jet fans are out on Brees Hall. I'm not. I think he's going to have a very good year this year. But I've never understood the Jet fans calling to trade him. Why trade away a weapon on this offense? I just don't get it. We talk about how strong this running back room is. Why trade Brees and make it weaker for no reason? It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get that. I'm not on board with trading one of this team's better weapons on offense, potentially this team's second leading receiver. I'm not on board with that. Don't understand that. And you're making the room thinner than you need to for no reason, right? If you trade Brees in a hypothetical world, and then Braylon or Isaiah Davis, I mean, Isaiah Davis dealing with injury now, but Braylon or Isaiah Davis are out for an extended period of time, you all of a sudden then went from a 3-headed monster to all of a sudden now you've got question marks in that room. Doesn't make any sense. So Brees Hall's here. Do I think he's here long-term? No. I think he's here this year, and that's probably it. But that's more of a discussion that we'll have in the 2026 offseason, which is well down the road right now. Not even thinking about that. But yeah, Brees is here, and he's going to be part of what should be a very good rushing offense this season. So that'll do another episode down. Appreciate you so much for all the support. Let me know, what are your big takeaways from practice this afternoon? Any other Jets thought? Let me know down below. Appreciate your support as always. We'll be back tomorrow. Player preview in the morning, so stay tuned for that. Couple more episodes of the player previews. And then, yeah, that's it. One more training camp recap tomorrow. Last practice tomorrow for the fans. So I'll be back there. Looking forward to it. Have all my takeaways. So appreciate you all so much. Until next time, JETS. Jets, Jets, Jets.